and I discovered that Korea has the second largest population of paid users of ChatGPT anywhere in the world. I think that Korea is already in a position. President Trump said the CHIPS Act was a bad deal and people weren't actually investing, and that he, told Speaker of the House Johnson to dump the thing. What do we end up with? The tax credits went from 25% of the investment to 35%. You might think you understand the paradigm of kind of what's going on in AI and how that translates to compute demand, but then 2 months later, that can shift. One, just use the tools, use the advanced version of the tools so that you have a sense of where they are and where they fail.
안녕하세요. 환경역 스페셜 인터뷰입니다. 지난 편에서는 AI 기술 100원 경쟁이 흘러가는 구도를 미국과 중국 중심으로 살펴봤습니다. 이어서 한국의 AI와 반도체 산업 그리고 미래 전략에 대해 마틴 초zemper 시니어 펠로우와 함께 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. Kospi rally has been recently largely driven by AI and semiconductor-related stocks, making the sector a focus of big attention for pretty much all Korean investors, retail and institutional. What do you think that Korean companies and Korea as a country ought to do to progress well in this application layer?
One of the most useful statistics I came across is I wanted to say, what is the implications of all this AI stuff specifically for Korea? And I discovered that Korea has the second largest population of paid users of ChatGPT anywhere in the world. How many people are using reasoning models? How many people are using the best AI models possible that then allows you to unlock as much value and different capabilities as you can? And so seeing that Koreans are willing to pay for it, they're seeing the frontier in a way that people who are not paying are not. So it's very uneven. And the only way you figure out where the frontier is by doing it. So I think that Korea is already in a position where if you look at the penetration, for example, something like 50% of Koreans say that they use AI at work. And then if you think about another side of it, it's if you want to apply AI to something like advanced manufacturing, you need to have advanced manufacturing in your country. You need to have that data and be able to apply it there. And so Korea's already existing ecosystem of high-tech companies and manufacturing is, I think, going to be a real asset. And so what that means is you don't need to train your own foundation model. I mean, you might think that you really want to have that for whatever reason, to pick up on the subtleties of the Korean language or something. But generally, even without your own frontier model, I think Korea's going to benefit immensely.
Very recently, of course, we've seen a change of administration in the US, and with that, very different priorities in a lot of areas. So we had the CHIPS Act with Biden. What can Korean firms do looking at the current sort of political and economic environment in the US?
Now, if you take the CHIPS Act as one example, I think it's a really good one, and I've written about it. President Trump said the CHIPS Act was a bad deal and people weren't actually investing, and that he, told Speaker of the House Johnson to dump the thing. What do we end up with? The tax credits went from 25% of the investment to 35%. So, one of the biggest actual money giveaway to companies investing in the US, including Samsung and SK, Hynix, that giveaway part, at least the tax credit wise, has gone up. And the grant side has been renegotiated in some areas, for example, with Intel. And there's so much demand for chips in the United States now that investments that weren't obviously going to make sense even a year ago with the Biden era CHIPS Act funding now probably make a lot of sense, because there's just so much demand, you need to expand capacity, and there are these existing financial incentives. So in a sense, some changes have made the CHIPS Act supercharged and even better. And my main hope is that the administration will recognize how important it is to have expertise that exists only in workers outside the US, or there's just not enough workers in the US who know how to do these advanced manufacturing, and will maybe treat them a little bit better.
So we talked about this current phenomena in AI and semiconductor industries that I guess we might see this momentum continuously in the, let's say, 5 years or even 10 years. So what should Korean investors pay closest attention to if this momentum continues?
I think that the main thing to watch is going to be the shift currently underway in terms of model training. Right now, there's this shift towards reinforcement learning. And the question is that going to work to continue to unlock new computing frontiers? Because you have to look at also the pattern of what kind of compute is needed. And pre-training is kind of needs, for now, everything to be in one place, one gigantic data center. But if you're doing reinforcement learning, you might be able to generate the synthetic data in pieces somewhere else, and that's inference. And NVIDIA is doing kind of new chips that are specifically designed for inference that are a little bit different. And so the point I'm trying to make with these specifics is that you might think you understand the paradigm of kind of what's going on in AI and how that translates to compute demand, but then 2 months later, that can shift. And so I think you don't want to get too pessimistic just because you might see a decline in one area, because these companies have so far always found another way to use compute, whether it's inference models that burn more compute as you're as the model's deciding how to respond to you, or moving away from pre-training to reinforcement learning. There's always been a way that computing demand has continued, just kind of like Moore's law has continued, even though it's not followed exactly the way as anyone might have anticipated way back in the day. They found different kinds of breakthroughs that have been needed to keep the computing performance improving. That's been really stable. We just really don't know with AI. There's so much uncertainty about the future. So I think just really keep paying close attention, understand the trends and how well they're working. And when things are moving this quickly, it's easy to kind of miss when there are deeper shifts going on.
Would you give any particular advice to young people who might be watching this, how to prepare for this AI future that we're entering into?
Yeah, I would say if someone tells you they know what's going to happen and they know how best to prepare for it, they're lying. You don't know. But if you respond to that with this nihilism and say, therefore I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to lie flat, then that's not going to be useful, if under any of the scenarios. And excessively relying on AI in a way that doesn't develop your own ability to do critical thinking, your own base of facts, for example. I think a lot of people, there was this sense when the internet came out, they're like, oh, no one needs to know facts anymore, memorize anything, because you can just Google it and get the result. Well, if you want to think seriously about any subject and build expertise in a subject, which is the only thing that's really going to make you able to climb any sort of ladder and be useful, is that you have unique expertise. So I'd say, just use the tools, use the advanced version of the tools so that you have a sense of where they are and where they fail, but then really focus on continuing to develop yourself. It's, other than being able to use these tools, it's hard to say which field to pick, because like we've got to in robotics, you don't know if the manual is going to be more protected from something else, but just stay very nimble.
Wise words, yeah. That's the end of our discussion, the end of the time we have, unfortunately. It's been a very, very fascinating and perhaps a little bit scary at times discussion, yes. But that's the future. So thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
오늘은 AI가 만들어갈 산업의 미래와 한국이 나가야 할 방향에 대해 이야기 나누었습니다. 앞으로도 다양한 전문가들과 함께 만약, if이라는 흥미로운 질문 통해 경쟁의 미래를 탐구하는 대화를 준비하고 있습니다. 채널 구독과 많은 기대 부탁드립니다. 시청해주신 여러분 감사합니다.